further question? Tim?
Okay, I've been trying to wrap my head around this since I've talked to Heidi about it several times. This is making me crazy. So we're going from 4.2 million plus to a 5.5 million deficit. That's a $10 million swing. How? That doesn't work that way in my budgeting when I do my budgeting at home. And I've been trying to wrap my head around it, and Heidi and I have spent hours talking about it. I don't get it. And I'm quite sure that there's a lot of other people that don't get it, because what it looks like is smoke and mirrors.
And hopefully we're actually having more handouts printed because there's more of you here than we brought. So as you leave, you'll get the handout. There's a chart on the back of the Understanding the Budget that shows you that the 4.2 million is the balance in the current year, and we're saying it gets to be assumed to stay there for next year. So there's not a $10 million swing because that balance is not included. If you wanted to take all that $4.2 million to address the budget shortfall, then your shortfall would only be 1.3 million, right? So it's not 10 million. So then you'd have no reserve. So you have a $5 million hole, assuming you maintain 4.2 million of reserves. If you want to use them, then your hole is less and your reserves go down.
Historically, what have we had in reserve? 10 years, for the last 10 years, what has our reserve been? Do you know?
Yes, there's a chart in the handout that shows you a 9-year history of the reserve balance and how it increased in the early 2000s as they did both layoffs and tuition increases and reduced expenses, increased revenue, the reserves got built. And then over the last 6 years, they declined to virtually zero. And in the 3 years that Dr. Ski's been here, they've been built back to the 4.2 level.
John?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why the college didn't sell KMHD instead of letting OPB manage it. I heard that it could be upwards of $4 million, and while that would only be a one-time chunk of money, one time is better than no time. And then the other thing, I just ask you if your role in the negotiations is in fact to be the go-between. Respectfully, I'd ask you if you do a bit more go-in-between.
Thanks, John. As far as KMHD having been involved in that and on their board, I'm not sure where you get the $4 million from. KMHD still, under OPB's leadership, has yet to break even. And so I'm not sure there hasn't been that discussion. And I know
an outside entity were to buy the frequency.
Okay.
Whether it's Washington State University, a religious organization, or whatever it might be.
Okay.
These frequencies are in high demand, especially in that on the FM.
Interesting, Jonathan. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Although a little bit late because we've signed a 10-year agreement to look at our relationship after 5 years. But I know that there were 1 or 2 groups that were interested in buying, but I think it wasn't even close to 6 figures that they were willing to pay us for the radio station. So if you know of somebody for $4 million, I'd be more than happy to talk to OPB about that. Yeah. Chris?
I was wondering about the debt service and bond ratings, and I'm not exactly sure the words to use, but if the $2.2 million that you mentioned going to pay the debt service, is that an increase because of the $6 million?
There's an increase. Yeah, there is a slight increase in the debt service.
So, and then how much do we have out in other loans that we're paying off?
There's about 22, 27 million, somewhere in that ballpark.
The 2.2 million is the total debt service budgeted in the general fund.
Does our bond rating, or whatever that's called, go down if, for instance, the faculty do have a work stoppage and there's all of the bad PR and much of it goes along with that? Is that potentially a worry that the college has?
The bond rating is a function of how financially stable they believe an institution is over time, and therefore affects the interest rate. So obviously, the more risky an institution is, then the higher interest rate people charge. The more stable an institution is, the lower the interest rate. So the amount of interest we have to pay when we borrow money is driven by the bond rating, and bond ratings are rarely determined by single events. They are determined by trends, and so even a fund balance dipping in 1 year doesn't change your bond rating, but if there's no plan to restore it, or you plan to restore it and then you don't, and over several years it's not restored, and the state's not going to add funding, and then the bond rating would go down.
Okay.
You mentioned having full-time faculty positions, which is how we generate revenue in college. How many administrative positions do you plan on cutting?
That is still under discussion.
So you just discussing it, but you've already gone ahead and planned to lay off faculty?
And yeah, Tammy, we had to because the contract says March 31st. So we've done an evaluation and an analysis that preliminarily seems as if we need to at least execute that. But, again, we're looking forward to making sure that it doesn't happen if we can. Yes, Jack.
Sorry, once again. Another cost that has me confused is the telephone. I believe it cost, the number I heard was about $400,000. That cost alone, again, could pay for my salary for about 6 years, 7 years. So I look at the phone and I think, wow, that's a whole teacher right there. So costs like that, and once again, the swimming pool, I'm confused. What's the priority? Where are we going with all these funny expenses? They don't make money. It used to be with the old telephone, you could just pick up the phone and call me. But now with the new telephone, I think you can just pick up the phone and call me.
Jack, regarding the telephone system, and Michael will be able to answer it in greater detail. Our telephone system is 12 years old, and that doesn't seem like it's very old. However, we are now having problems in getting parts when they repair the telephone. We're finding that there are many issues that are surrounding it. The technology has become outdated, like our electrical distribution system. And so therefore, it's been very difficult for us to maintain it. And so with this new telephone system, the investment of the $400,000 is going to provide us with hopefully greater longevity in the use of our telecommunications products than we've had before. But as this continues to fail, we're going to be spending more money on upgrading and maintenance an old system than we would if we bought a new system. And we're spending a lot of money for those people that have to come in and repair it. We're spending a lot of money as opposed to just purchasing an entire new system and having it current and state-of-the-art. Michael, anything to add to that?
Our telephone system handles about 92,000 telephone calls a month, 67% of which come from the outside. So we do a lot of business stuff here. So I consider it a vital technology to the operation of the college. Second thing is Dr. Ski said, the system is getting old, well beyond its normal usage, etc. Repairs on that machine now are simply time and materials. We pay $450 an hour to get that thing repaired. We're looking at eBay and other kinds of places for parts, etc. The life of this thing is dying and it's out the door. So you're right about one thing. Telephone calls, you get calls, and then the new version you'll be able to make calls. The new version also is going to provide additional facilities and capabilities. You'll be able to have new features and new capabilities you didn't have in the old one, and we'll let ourselves assess the value of those capabilities. But this is a critical system for the operation of the college, and we need to maintain it. This is like what we're about to do.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. It is 4:45, so you will see on email the places, locations, and times for the next budget meetings. Please make sure you get some of the handouts that are in the back. And again, please send me any thoughts or ideas you have about ways that we can address the budget situation. Thank you very much, and we will look forward to seeing you at other events.